Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, the 15th of December. Welcome to Ice Cream Uploads here on twitch.tv. Funnily enough, / Ice Cream Uploads. I'll be your host, your single host for today. My name's Bibby, aka We've Got Being Your, aka Lord Michael Mean, aka Saviour of Morrowind, Lord Bibington the Fifth. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend. I know it's Tuesday, and usually people say that on a Monday, but something about these balloons here, it was my birthday weekend. So I pretty much just dossed about because I can't leave the house. Thank you very much, Graham, for killing me nearly. I'm joking. I'll get well soon, mate. I know you're obviously struggling. Make light-hearted content. Well, I hope you're doing okay, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am back for today and the rest of the week. And hopefully beyond that, if I'm still alive. But yeah, it's just me again. So this will probably be a mini scoop. We like to keep the spot hot. We like to keep on giving you content. It is a little bit difficult doing it on my own, if I'm being perfectly honest. But we like to talk about video games, and there is a lot to talk about. I say it's going to be about 40 minutes, but we know I can rabbit on. And with the help of you guys that are in the chat, you're going to make this a two-sided conversation, because this does get turned into a podcast or a vodcast, if you want to call it like that, on YouTube as well. But we do go live each and every weekday on twitch.tv / Ice Cream Uploads every single weekday at 10 a.m. ish. It's pretty good today. I mean, we went live at about 10 past 10 after I've been and got a brew and done all the stuff that I needed to do. But yeah, again, this does get turned up into a podcast, so you can watch this, listen to this on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes, or just on Twitch VODs on demand, and YouTube as well, obviously. But yeah, I'm a bit out of sorts because I haven't been on in front of a camera for the last 4 days. I've literally done nothing. I've played golf in the back garden and ripped that up again. So I quickly turned that in after I started battering mud at the back of my golf net, and just watched a lot of TV, like a lot of TV. I did actually watch something. I was meant to tweet this out because I don't know if anyone else has watched it. I know I'm going off on a mad little tangent, but who's here to stop me? Who is here to stop me? I don't know if anyone's watched it on YouTube called hashtag. No, not YouTube. On Netflix called hashtag Alive. Brilliant film. It's a Japanese one, but it's very much like any kind of zombie film. But it was actually really good, so I don't know if anyone else is interested in stuff like that, but it's definitely worth a watch if you have got the time to do so. I can see a lot of the chat starting to fill up nicely, which we absolutely love to see on a Tuesday morning. Chapper says he's back. Mike says hello. Gary also says morning Shagger. Yes, please. Pepe. Hi everyone, says Steel Bonsai. Chapper's redeemed his ask a question and hasn't asked a question. How's G doing, dude? Oh, is that the question? Okay, yeah. So I've spoken to Graham briefly over the weekend. I didn't want to bug him, obviously because he's not too well and he's probably drifting in and out of conscious. But he seems to be getting better. He's obviously suffering a lot. He seems to have had every single what do you call it? Symptom. That's the word I'm looking for. He seems to have had every single symptom of COVID over the weekend, so he's progressively got worse. Hopefully, everything started to come out the other end now, and I don't mean in the toilet bowl because I know that's what you dirty minds are like. But yeah, it's obviously it seems to be it got worse over the weekend, him and his missus. So obviously, I've been wishing them well. You can do that as well. Obviously, find him on Twitter. It's at Graham_Day if you want to send over your well wishes to him. Feel free to do that. Whether or not he's going to respond in a timely manner, because I know he's been sleeping for 23 of the 24 hours a day. But yeah, feel free to go over and wish him well. Yeah, I'm sure he'll very much appreciate that as well when he can read it, obviously. Steel Bonza says, how are you all doing today? I'm doing great, mate. I'm doing great. It was obviously a bit mad getting up at 8:30 again, considering I've been getting up at stupid o'clock because I've been going to bed at stupid o'clock. I mean, it didn't stop me this morning. I went to bed at stupid o'clock because I was playing Pro Evo 2 or Winning 11-6, which is like an enhanced version in the 2002 patch. So I was like, it's just a full English patch. So when you start off in Division 2, you're playing against like Tranmere and Cardiff and stuff like that. It's a whole thing. I streamed it. If you missed it, tough tits. I may do it again at some point over Christmas as well, but it's amazing. Closest you've been to 10 fucking ages, says Mike. Very good point. Very good point. Gary says this is close. Oh, it was you that. Oh, you both said that. Okay, funny bastards. Fucking Laurel and Hardy in the chat. Gagad says morning, Bibby. And Gary says best Pez, mate. You haven't even played a Pez until you played this one, my friend. Like it's winning 11-6. So it's like the 2.5 version of PES 2, but it's mad. Like it is mad. Like the all the city's got all the proper city kits, all the kits for the proper of all the teams. So like yeah, I will show you if you missed it how good it is. I'll find the tweet and dig it out because I did take a lot of screenshots about 3 months ago when I started playing it. But yeah, I did do a stream and we ended up bringing Sean Goater back into the club. We brought Wright Phillips in because obviously start off with Master League defaults, but these are just Master League defaults that you've never even heard of. You have to turn the commentary off because obviously someone has just gone in and modded the game. So like City are called Barcelona, and then like the Master League default players, they're just running around shouting like Figo and Rivaldo and stuff. Obviously they're not them because they've been overwritten by new teams, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Chapper says, good news. All my meetings have been cancelled. That sounds like a perfect Tuesday. Steel Banzer says, yeah, go to bed at like 11, 12, then wake up early. You see, usually on a Monday, I will be in bed for about 9:15 because I have to be up and out of the house by about 5 to 6 o'clock to get to the office for 7:30. Because obviously I work in Blackpool and travel from Manchester on a Tuesday. But obviously since Graham has nearly killed everyone in the office, everyone's back working from home again. Again, this is a joke. Jokes. Very much jokes over here. So yeah, we're back working from home again, which is nice because I just have to go from behind this wall, which is my bedroom, to this wall, which is nice. And also, I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if you've seen them. Samantha got me them for my birthday. Probably the best presents that I've ever received in my life. So the 1999 kit and the 2014, I want to say, away kit. Two of my favourite shirts ever. And she got them framed for me so that I've been collecting Man City shirts. Obviously, I bought a Man City shirt for as long as I can remember since I was a kid, since my nan and my mum and the rest of my family were buying them, and I've continued to do so. But I wanted to collect all my favourite shirts over the years that obviously my 12-year-old self will not be able to fit into now. And these are my two favourite ones, so she got them framed for me, which is absolutely amazing. So this wall will be getting rejigged at some point because I've got some stuff around here that needs to be moved on, added to. I know this is not great for you guys that listen to this on audio podcast, but that's the whole purpose of wanting to watch this live, so we can give you live feedback and so you can see stuff. But if you've missed it, just go into our Twitch VODs or onto YouTube, and you'll be able to find it over there as well. And Steel Bonsai says, I was playing PES 2021 online, never played it before, lost the first 3 games, and now won my third. Great style, mate. I mean, you have to start somewhere. Mike says, I'm about 20 hours into Cyberpunk and barely scratched the surface. I absolutely love it. That is the perfect segue for us to be able to get into this first article now. Obviously, because we have been away for the last 4 days, there has been a lot of developments over the last 4 days. This is hopefully the last time that we're going to be covering stuff like this because I am starting to get bored of it. Unless something major happens, we'll probably just touch on it rather than it being the main topic because we have literally beaten Cyberpunk to death in every way, shape, or form, whether or not it's good, bad, or indifferent. We have talked about this probably too much that it's bored me, to be perfectly honest. However, the developments are starting to come through so strong that we can't not talk about it. So I think that's probably a great way into starting the first article. Just running through the comments before we move on. Gary Clark says the 99 brother top is mint. Yeah, exactly. That's why I got it. I got it for an absolute steal, to be perfectly honest, because if you try and look for this top on eBay or anywhere else in the condition that this is in, which is in absolute mint condition, it's like someone's just bought it in 99 and then just packed it away and never touched it again. It was in mint condition and I got it for £25 on eBay. I managed to snipe it. I can't believe I managed to do it, but it's been in a box in my room in the old place for about 18 months, and now obviously I've got my own room, or my own office. I can stick it on the wall, and Samantha's done that for me. Again, it was probably one of the best presents that I got, and I got a PS5 for my birthday. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, absolutely amazing. 99 Brother Kit is a classic, says Chappers. Epitome of Gallagher culture, which, funnily enough, got the tops behind. I've got the poster behind me. Again, one of my favourite posters ever. I do need to get that in like a proper frame, like a glass front frame, so that it doesn't get full of shit and creased and stuff like that. It's been taken off the wall, but yeah, I absolutely love those. I'm just glad we're having a family Christmas because I don't want to get the lurgy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not allowed to leave the house until I think it's Saturday this week. So I tell you what, if I end up getting a call, but in between now and then, I don't know. Like, I'll probably hit the fucking roof because I can't be arsed staying anymore. It hasn't bothered me all year because I know that I've been able to go out and I've been able to go to the shops or the golf course has been open, so I've been able to go out. But now I know I have to stay in this is when it's starting to bother me. But it is what it is for the greater good and all that. Steel Banzai says, my brother-in-law did a 48-hour charity stream and played Cyberpunk and completed it. Wasn't that blown away by it. Visually, the game looks cool, but the gameplay wasn't a fan of. It was playing it on PC because he was streaming it. Had to play in 1080p. Interesting. Well, I think that's a perfect time for us to be able to move into the first article, don't you think? Don't you think? Yeah. Let's get rid of that. I've got this, and let me scroll back up because I've said all that. Graham's got a perfect script on here, by the way. I'll go through it every single time, butcher it, go through, skip through paragraphs, but we get there eventually. So let's bring this up on screen. If I press this, I didn't test any of this before I went live, assuming that the last time I did it, everything stayed like that. Rookie mistake, we all know that. But let's hope that this works. Fantastic! It's picked the right tab. I've got about 7,000 different tabs open. It's picked the right one, so that's absolutely perfect. So let's get into it. This has been written by Sherif Saed over on VG247. It says CDPR asked for patience after Cyberpunk's 2077's performance on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One kicks off a refund campaign. Cyberpunk's 2077 state on the PS4 and Xbox One has led to an awkward situation for developer CD Projekt Red. It is no secret at this point that Cyberpunk 2077 is a bit of a disaster on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. CD Projekt Red has never shown the game running on base consoles, and fans anticipated the worst. No one, however, was ready for just how unfinished the game is on these consoles, even keeping in mind its current state on next-gen and PC. Cyberpunk 2077 suffers from major frame rate issues on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, to say nothing all of the other rendering and visual bugs, some of which are present on other platforms. Those versions were blasted by reviewers who rightly called out on many technical problems in their coverage, with the Digital Foundry calling performance on PS4 unacceptable. All of those reached a tipping point for many players who have been helping each other get refunds after getting it themselves, including from historically stringent Sony. In a message posted to Twitter this morning, CDPR apologised for the state of the game on PS4 and Xbox One, saying it should have paid more attention to performance on these consoles. The developer admitted that not showing the game running there is partly to blame for the fans' disappointment. CDPR also asked fans for patience as the team continues to work on all reported problems, promising a patch within the next 7 days, which is the last before the holiday break. More major updates are in the works, with the first targeting January and the next in February. Together, these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last-gen consoles. They won't make the game on last-gen look anything like it's run on a high-end spec PC on next-gen console, but it will be closer to that experience than it is now. CDPR said of the two major patches. With that in mind, the developer acknowledged that some of them have no interest in waiting for those updates and will instead like a refund through the developer wants to give us a chance it understands. I'll read that again because I have butchered the tits off that. With that in mind, the developer acknowledged that some have no interest in waiting for these updates and would instead like a refund. Though the developer wants players to give us a chance, it understands why many are requesting refunds. CDPR advised players to go back where they purchased Cyberpunk 2077 to request a refund, be it retail stores for physical copies or Sony and Microsoft for digital purchases. Should you not succeed in getting a refund, your point of purchase, you have until, keep this in mind, right? Keep this in mind, this is a big date, December 21st, a week from this writing, which was written yesterday, to contact CDPR to support, and then it's an email address to do our best to help you. If you're running into problems yourself, be sure to catch up on our Cyberpunk 2077 guide, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, this is obviously massive. I know we're putting the title that Sony and Microsoft are not accepting refunds, and we will move on to that shortly. But as it stands, from the time of writing this, yesterday, CDPR are claiming that you can get a refund for this, but you have until December 21st. So let's take apart the December 21st date. A lot of people probably have bought this for maybe their partners, maybe for their kids, and they will not be able to open this on Christmas. Sorry, they won't be able to open this till Christmas. That's 4 days after the allotted time. That's probably not a good idea. I think if you are doing a gesture of goodwill like they are doing with this, which is perfectly fine. A lot of people are pissed that they can't play this properly, and they are getting hard crashes on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and it's just a buggy, glitchy mess. Fair enough, those people are playing it now. They are well within their rights to be able to get a refund, which is fine. That's fine. You'll be able to refund it and then potentially buy it later on down the line when this does eventually come out for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. That's perfectly fine. Having until the 21st when people probably bought this for their other halves or for their kids or for a friend, who knows? That's not cool. I mean, do you take it back now? People reading this, do they take it back now and then just say, "I did buy it, but I heard it's an absolute disaster, so you probably are not going to want to play it." It probably won't work on your console because it's just falling apart. I don't know. That date isn't the best. Now I've given this a lot of shit, and I think it probably deserves a lot of shit. I haven't. Disclaimer: I haven't actually played this myself yet, and I want to make that abundantly clear. I have not played this game yet. I've seen this running on a lot of streams on PC, and it looks fantastic. Like there's all the stuff that's been said about it. It doesn't look like it's come true, and it's a lot of people that are taking the piss. But a lot of people who are giving this game shit are the people that are playing this on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, obviously the PC version runs great. Fair enough, it does have crashes here, there, and everywhere. It's not taking away how good this game looks. It's all down to performance. Now, I'm fairly certain if we ran a poll on this, performance will always come out on top of graphics, and that's the way it should be. If a game performs well, and that's the reason why I still go back and play PlayStation 2 games. My favourite PlayStation 2 games, because they run great visually. They look like shit now. Unless you're playing it on PC and it runs at full speed and you can enhance the graphics slightly. Most of them look like shit because you're playing it on a HD TV downstairs and you haven't got an upscaler and you're plugging it in through its AV cards and it doesn't look great. However, a lot of the times you'll overlook that because of the performance of the game, and it looks great, and it doesn't crash, and you're still having the nostalgia feel of it. That's well and true. That's all well and good. However, this game was meant to come out in April. What didn't come out in April? What didn't come out until November? That is right. That's the current gen consoles. That's next gen consoles. That's your PlayStation 5 and your Xbox Series X. This game was meant to come out in April. I have no idea what this game looked like in April, but if it looked anything like what it runs like or what it looks like on the last gen consoles, i.e. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you've seen the stocks and the shares falling from CDPR over the weekend. It has gone into obscurity. The amount of goodwill that they had with a lot of consumers has pretty much gone down the swanny. And I hate saying stuff like this, but I mean I can't be subjective with this. I've got to call it as I see it. And fair enough, I haven't played it, but I don't need to play it. With everything that's going around on social media at the moment from trusted sources, we say to you all the time, if you want to know about a game, go to your trusted source. And funnily enough, a lot of you think that's us. That's great. I don't see myself as a trusted source. We just talk about video games from our perspective and what we see. A lot of your favorite sources will give you out everything that you need to know. But I feel like at this point in time, I don't need to play this game to know that it runs like a bag of shit on all consoles. Now, this game was meant to come out in April. What state would this have come out in April? Fair enough, they've delayed it. That's the right thing to be able to do. Delay it until it looks okay. I think they've been bullied into making this game come out now. Unfortunately. I think this game, did it get shown in 2012? So they've taken 8 years to create this game. What would another 3 or 4 months have been? Now, fair enough, they was getting a lot of shit for delaying this game 3 times. A 4th time would have saved you your shares. It would have saved you your stocks. It would have saved you your goodwill. It would have saved you a shitload of money on refunds, which obviously PlayStation and Xbox are refusing at this point, and rightly so as well. It's absolutely not their fault. They're just the people that are selling it. If you want to go into game and try and get a refund, I don't agree with the refund part of it, if I'm being perfectly honest, because they're just selling the game. It's the fault of the people who are publishing the game and giving it away and giving a street date for the game. That's absolutely their fault. Now, if you bought this digitally, I think Steam's policy is it 3 hours you can play the game for before you're not allowed a refund? Yeah, it's a very shit situation for them, and I don't know how they're going to try and get goodwill back with this, especially when this game for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X isn't due until next year at some point. That's a long time to wait and try and give try and gain your customers back. I haven't got this game. I will most likely want to play this on my PlayStation 5 when it eventually comes out. I don't think my PC is up to it now. I think my graphics card is about 4 years old. My CPU is about 4 years old. My RAM I've updated recently, so that's fine. But the rest of it, I don't think I'll be able to get the best out of it if I'm being honest on my PC. That is essentially why I wanted a PlayStation 5, so I can play games like this in the best possible way. And unfortunately, I don't have that option yet with this game. It doesn't run great in PS4 Pro either, or the Xbox One X, we'll call it, because I can't actually remember the name of it. They've got so many different variations, but it's unfortunate that we've come to this point now where people are asking for refunds. It's shit because the game itself, the premise is everything that I want it to be. I can't believe that this game was meant to come out in April and people... I mean, I've said it recently as like, what do you expect? This game was meant to... This game is a last-gen game and it's been trying to run on a last-gen game. But then I actually thought, no, this is a game that's been promised for 8 years and it's been delayed multiple times. This game was meant to come out in April when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X wasn't even around. There wasn't even... I didn't even think we hadn't even seen the PlayStation by then. Do you know what I mean? The PlayStation wasn't even a thing. Like, we knew it was coming. We didn't even know what it looked like. And this game was meant to come out on PlayStation 4. I have no idea what it would have looked like. This would have looked like a PlayStation 2 game, I think, back then. So the amount of shit that I've given Fallout, which is a franchise that's near and dear to my house, the amount of shit that I've given to Elder Scrolls Online, which again is another franchise near and dear to my heart, though I've given so much shit to those games, at what point do I think that this deserves not to have those with a game that I have no affiliation with whatsoever? It's the first game in a franchise, which can we see a franchise being made out of this game? I don't know. I think now it's probably let's focus our attention on getting the PlayStation 5 out, PlayStation 5 versions out, and then move on to The Witcher and try and get some goodwill back because the stocks of this game has fallen on its ass, and I can't give it a pass. IGN have given it a 4, and IGN, I think usually are, I don't want to say ass kissers in terms of they like to give goodwill to the people who look after them. But on this one, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and they've given it a 4, and that's mental. I don't like looking at review scores. I don't even like looking at Metacritics because I think it's such a skewed opinion. I believe reviews now shouldn't have scores on them because they're all subjective. It's my opinion of a video game is completely different from picking out some names in the chat. Gary's. Steel Bonsai's, Mike's, Thomas Dams, all of our opinions will be completely different on this subject, or in any game. A lot of games you probably think are shit that I think are absolutely amazing. I don't believe review scores should be a thing going forward anyway. I believe you should have a review of a game, and then it's up to you whether or not you decide on, do you believe that person? Do you have an affection for them? Do you read a lot of their reviews? Is it just because you've typed in a game into Google and read the first review that you've come across? Do you believe that? I don't know. I don't believe review scores should be a thing going forward. Fair enough, Metacritic, because that's a lot of people's opinions, and then take the average score. But when it comes to places like, I don't know, Kotaku, IGN, Eurogamer, I don't believe Eurogamer do scores anymore, but just using those as an example, I don't believe scores should be affiliated to any reviews going forward. I think it does more damage than good in terms of people buying stuff and then realizing that it is a bag of shit. But on this instance, if you're reviewing this game on PlayStation 4 and Xbox, funnily enough, you didn't actually get codes for those games because they realized how bad this game would be. It all started to ring true a little bit, didn't it? The reason why a lot of people didn't get review codes on the current, old gen consoles now, it's because it looked like shit. Imagine if people were having to review those games, and there wasn't allowed to show anything from those, by the way. They had to show B-roll from stuff that they was either given off from previous trailers and stuff like that, and they give their thoughts and impressions on PC builds of the game. There is a reason why they didn't give you review codes of this game. And again, it feels like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, which I genuinely am. But I don't see why I should give this game a pass when there's other games that I absolutely love that I battered at launch, which have progressively got better. I don't believe that this game should get it just because it's meant to be the game of a generation, and it turns out to be an absolute disaster class. But But yeah, like Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us 2 and games like that, and trying to put this alongside them, it hasn't got a chance in hell. But yeah, I'll read through the comments in a second. I feel like I've said everything that I need to say about this game at this point in time. It doesn't. Hopefully it'll get better because this game deserves it. It's been in development for so long. I do think that I'd probably say social media has badgered this game to the point where they had to release it, and it's unfortunate because they've ended up losing out on what could have been a potentially fantastic game. I do feel probably the devs that were working on this game have unfortunately had their work tarnished by maybe people above them in the boards saying that they need to get this game out now, and they're saying it's not ready. But unfortunately, they're having to push it out the door to try and get as many pre-orders as they can before Christmas and deliver a game that we now know is absolutely broken. And there will be people that say this game is absolutely amazing. Mike's obviously said it. I've seen Asim on Twitter saying this game looks absolutely phenomenal. I'm guessing he's playing it on his PlayStation 5. So he may not be running into as many instances of crashes and breaks and stuff like that as other people are. But I mean, for those people who are the majority at this point, because you can't get a PlayStation 5 now, who are the majority, and that's who we're going to try and take influence from, because they're the majority, they're the people who are playing it. And if the majority aren't having a good time and the game is constantly breaking, it's having hard crashes, and I think who was it that I was watching? It was RGT85. For those of you that watched my Sean Goater video yesterday that I posted at about 12:20, you'll hear IGT talking about Cyberpunk in the background. He was saying that he couldn't move into certain missions because the game would freeze, and then you'd have to roll back to an autosave and hope that autosave is a good path to be able to get past this certain mission, because there was no way that you'd be able to go past it. And this was like an hour in. So yeah, it's a very difficult situation. Do I think they'll get out of this? Yes. Do I think that they would have lost a lot of custom by then? Absolutely. I think a lot of people who can get refunds now probably. I don't know what the policy is in terms of if they've completed the game, can they still get a refund? Can they still take this disc? Because the game isn't that long. I mean, to do the actual game, the main story part, is it probably 12 to 15 hours? You could probably, if you're not a side quest guy and you just want to get the main story done, you could probably complete this on the first day and then take it back and then get a full refund. Like, how are they going against that? I have no idea. But I think I've probably said all I need to say on Cyberpunk. When Graham eventually comes back to the podcast after he's got better, we may revisit this and see what his thoughts are on this. But I'm going to read through the chat now as well, because I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this, and this is not. I just don't want this to be me ranting for 40 minutes. So we'll see what they have to say. Chapper said this scene is so sad without the dual box. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. When I was putting it together, I should have made myself a little bit bigger to fill the space, but without Graham's face on the other side, it is a little bit sad. Mike says people are waiting until Christmas to open the patches. Surely we'll have some out by then. So they shouldn't need a refund, maybe. Exactly. That's what I mean. It's whether or not they will have goodwill there, but it's whether or not they will stick around long enough. So we'll see. Neil Bonza says real talk. Gary says well said, Bib. I play the game and make my own mind up, says Mike, and that's the way it should be. That's why I say the influences of game scores and reviews shouldn't influence anyone. They should give you the facts about the game. Like, how does the game play? Is the storyline good enough to keep your attention? That's all I want to know. Is performance okay for that I can play it and it doesn't crash? Is the storyline good? That's all I ever want to know from a review. I don't want to know all the other shit that goes around it. I just want to know, is it playable and is it got a good storyline? That's all. The only reason I play single player games, nothing else. Thomas says, I've only just joined the stream and I already know that you're talking about Cyberpunk. Oh, Cyberbug. That's a nice little quip. Steel Bonsai gives a laughing emoji. Thomas said, I'm so glad I have a PS5 because at least it kind of plays, but playing it on base consoles is shocking. Saw a guy on Twitter the other day said he put his chat lock up from Sony. Sony basically saying that CDPR. I said they are releasing patches in the new year, so they aren't processing refunds. Gary says the worst part for me isn't really the majority of problems, it's per se, but it's with the fact that CDPR hid the console versions because they thought it could get away with it and sell millions. That's unforgivable. I agree. I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I don't know the person's name who said this, but I know it was one of the CEOs over at CDPR saying that it runs surprisingly well. you could take that one of two ways. Surprisingly well, like, oh my god, yeah, it's made for a PS5. It was made for top end graphics cards, but it's running on PS4. That's great. Or it runs surprisingly well, as they thought this game might run like a bag of shit, but it does actually work. Take of that what you will. Chapper says, give a shit. They knew what they were doing and released it on PS4 and Xbox One versions anyway. That's the thing that annoys me the most, though, because it was actually intended to be a PS4 and Xbox One game, and it still looks like a bag of shit, but they released it anyway. Just take more time, just delay the entire thing. Like, your PlayStation 5 versions aren't going to be, and your Xbox Series X versions aren't going to be coming out till next year. You would have got a lot of shit from a lot of people, but believe me, it wouldn't have been half as close as, like, us talking about it on a podcast, the UK's number one video podcast. Having us talking about how shit your game is without even playing it, and because I feel at this point we don't need to. Just go onto social media, type Cyberpunk in, and you'll see all the glitches, bugs, cars falling through the floor, people walking around like they're in Vice City, like the clothes just not working, the faces all mushed up and bad text. You don't need to play it at this moment in time to know that it runs like a bag of shit on these old consoles. It wasn't intended to be a PlayStation 5 game. It would have come out at some point, which is why they were giving it away for free. But this game was meant to come out in April on the last-gen consoles. That's the biggest thing you can take away from this. It was meant to be on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and it still runs like a bag of shit 8 months later. But, I mean, what more do you need? Sorry, 6 months later. Just in case anyone wants to trip me up with that. Great-looking games have come out on the last-gen consoles. The Cyberpunk has itself a bit of a poop sack. I value everyone's opinion. I'll never say my opinion is right or yours is wrong. Absolutely. Again, you make your own mind up with stuff like that. Mike says, I remember playing GTA when it came out. That was probably the worst for bugs. Just got fixes quicker. Mate, I play Elder Scrolls Online, and that game was bad. I played Oblivion when it came out on the Xbox 360. That game was horrific. Like, that was probably one of the worst experiences I've had, which is why I can't give this game a pass. Because those are franchises near and dear to me. The games that I play all of the time. I've got 7 billion copies of Skyrim on every single platform that you could probably go for. I'm not giving this a pass based on CDPR. They'll get it right eventually. How can I do that when games that I have an affinity to have had the same launches and I've not given them a pass? It's only now because I've got a video game podcast that I can rant about it. Back in 2006, I probably had a Bebo page and maybe a MySpace page. Facebook wasn't even a thing. But I'd still go on the playground and speak to my mates about it and say it's an absolute bag of shit and I'm probably never going to play it again and then end up pouring too much time into it. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Robbo says, the biggest issue I've seen with the way that the police spawned into the game, I believe it has to be a bad design choice. Good morning as well, Robbo. Tito says, hey, baby, how's Graham? Hey, Tito, yeah, he's getting better. He's still alive, which is obviously a massive plus. He's probably watching this in his bed, so I hope that he obviously is getting better. I do speak to him. I didn't speak to him that much over the weekend because obviously I wanted to leave him to it, but I did speak to him this morning. He said he thought he'd be better by now, and it turns out he's not. So, yeah, again, if you do want to go over and give him some well wishes, it's Graham_Day on Twitter. Just go and say some nice things to him because obviously he's suffering quite a bit at the moment. And so is his missus as well. So get well to Danielle. Mike says people's expectations are much higher due to wait for the game, anticipation for a groundbreaking game, and because it's not as great, they would absolutely beat it. You see, I would take that, and I would also say that they have marketed this heavily. Like, everywhere you went on they had Twitch pre-rolls, they had YouTube pre-rolls, they had it on normal TV, so they have marketed this heavy. I don't want to say people's expectations were much higher due to the weight of the game. I agree with that to a degree, but if you're marketing this at every given opportunity, you better make sure that this works on launch, and unfortunately it hasn't on most instances, which there was a stat that I've seen before. Was it Brian, the guy from, I always get his name wrong, I want to say Altano from IGN. I'm sure he said that there was 60% of pre-orders came from consoles. Now, bear in mind, those consoles was probably last-gen consoles rather than next-gen. That's not good. That's not good. The prime way to play it would have been a PC, but everyone knows that having a gaming PC, it costs a lot of money. I have one, but I can't play top-tier games on it now. I probably can, but it'll be on, like, medium or high, not ultra, like you want to play this on.
Stay frosty.
Hey, Zombie with the 11-month sub. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing all well, buddy. I seen that you're taking your PC apart yesterday. I hope that's back up and running now. Thomas says, I played through it and it has potential to be a fantastic game, but the release of the game is so undercooked. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Jim says, yeah, I don't like it. It's like a bad GTA with a star system. I didn't like that. Magic says, hello. Good morning to you, sir. Mike says, the thing is, we have to play all the side missions to build the relationships to get high from fulfillment of the endings. You see, I'm OCD for getting side missions anyway, so that would have absolutely been the way that I do it. Like I'm stuck now on Days Gone because I think I need to go and find more Nero camps. I'm at the old sawmill. Those of you that have played it, I'm at the old sawmill. I need to sit down a horde, but this is like the biggest horde that I've ever seen. I've taken out 3 or 4 of them, but this is like next level. I don't have enough Molotovs, so I need to go around. I just need to salvage, get more health, get more stamina, so I can run away. But yeah, it's I get what you mean. I have OCD for that kind of side mission shit. I don't like moving on unless I've 100% in a particular area. Fatman Dave says, it as bad as you think it is because of the hype being that it's that big of expectations. I'll read that again because I don't know if that I've absolutely butchered that. Dave says, is it as bad as you think it is because of the hype that's being made of expectations that are high? Because as someone who's not really been interested in the game, and I've only seen the PC version, it looks visually good to me. I agree. Again, I don't know how long you've been in here for, Dave, but playing it on the PC is absolutely the prime way to play it. But this was intended, obviously, to come out on PC as well, but it was intended to be in a last-gen console game. It was meant to come out in April when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was knocking about. So, if it was meant to come out then, what would the game have been like in that instance? They delayed it. It was the right thing to do. Had they not have delayed it, I have no idea what this game would have looked like. They've delayed it. They brought it out after the delays, and it still doesn't look great. That's the point that we're trying to make on this. It wasn't intended to be what you expect. What do you expect? You're playing it on a last gen console. It was meant to be a last gen console game. It was meant to be a last gen console game, and unfortunately, it looks like a bag of shit on those consoles. Fair enough, if you're playing it on PlayStation 5, it isn't the PlayStation 5 versions of the game. It will run slightly better because of the performance of the consoles, but it was meant to be a last-gen game. That's the issue that people have. If they have been lied to when it comes to stuff like that. There is a reason we didn't get to see this game. There's a reason why they didn't give out review copies of this game on these old-gen consoles, because they know people's reviews would have been scathing, and I have absolutely no issues in saying that the reason why the reviews are scathing now is because they feel aggrieved. They feel like they've been lied to. Had they have not been lied to and they've got review copies of it, I can see the 4s and the 3s that they got would have potentially have been 7s and 8s. There is a lot of outlets that have given passes to this game because of the game publisher, because it's CDPR and they have an affinity to them. I can't give them the same backing of that, purely because, one, I haven't played this game and I've made that abundantly clear. I feel like I don't need to at this point. With all the information that we have available to us to make your own decision, I don't feel like. But if I'm not given passes to games and franchises that I have an affinity to, why should I give this one? Why should I give Cyberpunk 2077 a pass? I don't think I need to. I've played much worse games from publishers and franchises that I absolutely love, and I have bashed to fucking hills. I don't feel I should give this one a pass. And I feel like the review scores, the low-end ones, and the Metacritic score at this moment in time reflects that. And again, I'm a firm believer that review scores shouldn't be a thing in the future. I feel like reviews are objective or subjective. That's a person's opinion of a video game that they're playing. That's all well and good. Don't give it a score. Let people read your reviews, and if you are a trusted review source for that particular person, they can make their own mind up based on that. The people come to this show to get their video game news. I don't think of myself as a video game journalist. I don't feel like my opinion holds weight when it comes to video games because I play, as Graham rightly puts, a lot of shit games. I have a wall. I have a shelf here full of shit games from 40 years ago up until now. I have a wardrobe here next to me that's full of boxes and boxes and boxes of shit games. I buy 50p games from CEX for a reason, because I have affinity to those. Like, This Is Football, you can pick up for about 50p now. It's a wank game. It is a shit game. This Is Football 2002. You have the nostalgia of it. Go back and play it now. It is a shit game. But I buy them because I like to have them. I don't feel like my opinion holds weight for a lot of things, especially when it comes to video games, because of the type of games that I play. But I do have people that I would go to and trust their opinions of video games. I think my opinion's changed recently over the last couple of months because of the Days Gone situation. I know I've said this a million times, and I'm going to say it again because there may be new people in here. But by the way, small tangent. If you are new here, please feel free to follow us. We go live each and every single weekday at 10 a.m. There's usually 2 of us, but Graham has got the Rona at the moment, so he's not feeling too well. So you've only got me for the time being. He'll be back soon, don't worry, and you'll get 2 opinions on this. But the Days Gone situation is the thing I think that's cemented, for me, the review score thing. I'm saying for a while that the review score shouldn't be a thing when it comes to video games. Fair enough, you can get an opinion, but of someone's opinion. But a lot of people rinsed the absolute living shit out of Days Gone because it was buggy, it was a mess. However, I'm playing it a year after the fact, maybe 18 months after the fact now, and this game is phenomenal. I can't get off this game. I had to put it down last night because I was getting pissed off because I couldn't get past the hard that I needed to. I've probably been playing this game now for about 43 hours, which is way longer than it takes to be able to complete this game because I'm stuck on a certain area because I don't want to leave it because I want 100% that area. I'm having too much fun playing this game. And a lot of people give shit to this game, and it was in bargain bins 6 or 7 months after the fact. This game and Cyberpunk now are facing the same thing. It was a buggy mess at launch. Why should CDPR get the okay on this when Days Gone didn't? Can someone explain to me that situation? At least Days Gone was playable and it didn't have hard crashes. It was all glitchy textures and all that was all over the gaff when it came out. We was taking the piss out of it on this podcast because it was meant to be a first-party game that just kind of went tits up. But why should, if anyone can answer me this, that's in the chat, why does the CDPR get the pass when I'm now playing Days Gone and realising that I shouldn't have listened to people in the first place? Because this game, as far as I'm aware, and I've not completed the story yet. I'm quite a bit of the way. If I'm playing it for 43 hours, it's very rare that I will give a game 43 hours worth of my time personally. If I don't see it going anywhere, why should I give that game a pass and not the other one? If someone can answer me that question, that'll be fantastic. And I'm sure the chat is still flying because I'm having to scroll down quite a bit. Robbo says surprisingly well could mean I'm surprised it even runs at all. Exactly what I mentioned before. Chapper says, I think if it's just bugs, that's fine this day and age. The game's broken, but it's playable for the most part. However, the past gen being optimized like a fish in a toaster is a bad look. Graham is alive, ladies and gentlemen. He is alive. He says, nobody gets a free pass. Fact in capital letters. Robbo says, feel better, G. That's the key thing through social media. Absolutely batters games. When back in my day, you didn't have to. Exactly. It was Playground Talk. It was having a magazine that comes out once every 2 weeks to be able to get your fill. He says, he's not dead yet. Ish. I had to speak to people in the playground to find out who to sign an LMA. Those are the days. Good to hear it tested positive too. Oh, get well soon, Tito. Get well soon, pal. Madge says, get well, fellas. Let's thank Spike for his emoji. Get well soon, guys. Let's get rid of that. Say thanks. Boom. We can scroll. Yeah, it's back together, but I'll do more later when I get a delivery. He said he was considering messaging saying, Sanka, you did? Yeah, man. Big Zombie Monk says, Days Gone is my favourite game at a very, very long time, top 10 of all time. You see, I should listen to you, Spike, because I know for a fact... Oh, Steel Bonsai coming in with the sub as well. Let's go ish. Appreciate that, mate. I should have listened to you because I knew for a start, and I've been saying this when I was streaming it last week, that this is definitely a Spike game. It's basically Sons of Anarchy with The Walking Dead. And if there was one person's opinion that I needed to get from it, I know it would have been rose-tinted glasses, but I know this game was absolutely made for you. It's literally like they cracked your head open and said, what does Spike love? Let's take these 2 different things and let's see what we can get out of it. And I should have listened to you when it comes to stuff like that. Magic says, people seem to forget how shite the shite state Witcher 3 was on launch. Sure, they patched it into this gem it is now, but Cyberbug shouldn't be a surprise. Gary says, I hope you're feeling better soon, mate. Jim says, on Days Gone, I had the best gun ammo pouches and just gun hards down. You see, yeah, I think I need to get my focus up. You know, when you press R3 and it slows everything down, because that's the one thing that I've not been updating, which is why I need to go back and go through the Nero stuff. It's health and stamina are pretty much near enough all the way there. But the focus I haven't really been using. Some mods have been doing the... Oh, yeah, it's Graham. He knows what he's doing. I think saying stay frosty may be the wrong time to say, but if you got a fever going... Cheers, Jim. Bib, I just sent a message that is and realised the Cyberpunk 27 to the ICU Twitter that happened this morning, apparently. I'll check that out, mate. Spike says, IS Bibby and his opinion do the opposite, works a charm, you bastard. Gatekeeper TV says, morning all. Morning, Craig. Hope you're doing all well, mate. Get well soon, Graham. It's a fair point, Bibby says, Madge. CDPR shouldn't get any past. They've released a bad product on previous gen consoles. Gary says, exactly, Bib, that's why I tweeted out what I said at Bethesda getting shit. Why should CDPR? Yeah, I agree. Steelband said, not play Days Gone as I don't have a PlayStation more, but if I would, if I did have it, say yes, says Steel Bonsai. Spike says, I hyped Days Gone up so much and no one listened to me. I thought the game was incredible, but people's focus on bugs and issues. It's understandable when it breaks the game, but when it's just the odd thing. I mean, it's still happening now. There's still like NPCs that are still walking through their bike or falling off roofs. They shouldn't be up there in the first place, but they'll just like walk and then just hit the floor and then carry on walking again. Like, it is what it is. It isn't game breaking. It's not taking out my immersion per se, but scrolling. Right, I think we need to move on because I've been waffling on for about 45 minutes about CDPR, and a lot of people are probably going to get bored. It was what I will say is, and I'm sure Graham will agree with me, we have talked about Cyberpunk now for at least the last 8 months, and I'll probably say it's probably been the leading story of this show. Probably 20 times. There is only so many times I can find a thumbnail for this, ladies and gentlemen. So I think this is probably the last time that we'll be covering this game. I hope so anyway. I definitely as a main topic. If there's stuff that happens between now and Christmas where we absolutely need to give it top tier and we need it to be the main focus of this podcast, then we absolutely will. However, I am flipping bored. You see what did I edit myself there? I'm 30 years old now. I'm not immature. I can edit myself. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I am bored to the back teeth of talking about this game. There's nothing that's going to surprise me now, and I think I'm more than happy to wait until the PlayStation or the next-gen versions of this game come out, or they have some major fixes on the last-gen consoles. I am bored of talking about this game. So I think that's probably it for the time being with that. PlayStation and Xbox aren't offering refunds, and why should they? It's not their fault. They shouldn't be losing money on this when it's benefited to a certain degree their stock levels. But yeah, I want to move on to something else because I'm bored of talking about it now. I think the chat and myself has probably said everything that we need to say about this. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please feel free to get involved with the show, either over on social media, which is at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. Chatbot isn't on because I need to get an author key, and Graham is wilting away in bed. So yeah, that's not working at the moment. But if you do want to get in contact with us at We've Got With Being on Twitter, which is myself, at Graham_Day or at Ice Cream Uploads, we continue the conversations, or in the YouTube comments as well. Feel free to get involved with there. But the reason we love to do this live is because we can get you guys in the chat and we can talk about it and discuss. But I don't think there is anything else that we need to say about this now. And I've just seen Graham's comment in before CDPR headlines tomorrow's episode. It's going to happen. It's inevitable at this point. Can we have an update on Cyberpunk tomorrow? Go for yourself, guys. Love you. Spike says they will always be the odd bug in huge games. My horse landed on the roof of a house in Red Dead Redemption and the game was incredible. Ignore the last message. I sent that without finishing what I was typing, as well as. Okay, let's move on. We need to find something else to talk about. I want to talk about something esports. Now, I know you guys in the chat are huge esports fans. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by without Gary tweeting me and at me saying, "Oh, did you see CS:GO last night? It was amazing." Yeah, he doesn't say that. But I know that some of you have an affinity to esports. So this is the thing that I want to move on to too, because this is outright bonkers. This is bonkers. Cyberpunk is an esport. Go fuck yourself, guys. Oh, Graham's turned on chatbot on his PC. Yay! What a guy. He's dragged himself out of bed for 30 seconds as he puts on chatbot. You things you love to see. What a guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, coming at you from Jinx TV. We don't feature that many things on here from Jinx, but well done to Andrés Aquino. Definitely butchered that. HyperX Arena threatens to permanently shut down Smash events due to low attendance during pandemic. I'm going to read that again because I don't think any of yous took that in. You didn't absorb that information, so we're going to go through it again. HyperX Arena threatens to permanently shut down Smash events due to low attendance during the pandemic. Okay, absorb it. We'll discuss it. According to Smash Ultimate Player MVD, the 30,000 square foot arena located in Las Vegas has issued the ultimatum to the local scene, urging them to up the number of attendees for their next event. I did butcher that name, Gary. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to read the actual story first that came out yesterday, and then there is a slight update to it as well. So those of you that are listening to some podcast services, you get the benefit of listening to this for the first time. For those of you that are watching, you've definitely just seen the updated comment. However, let's go. The Smash scene can't catch a break at the moment as Ultimate Pro Player Justice MVD, we'll call him MVD for this, revealed that the HyperX Esports Arena in Las Vegas has warned the community to up the number of attendees for their upcoming tournament scheduled to happen on the 27th of December. Otherwise, they will permanently be removing Smash Ultimate from their calendar event. Wow. Okay, so here's a comment as well. It's been brought to my attention that the HyperX is threatening to permanently end Smash tournaments if we, in brackets, Vegas, don't do enough entrants at the monthly in 2 weeks' time. MVD shared via Twitter alongside a screenshot of the conversation between members of the Las Vegas Smash community, revealing HyperX's arena's ultimatum to the local scene. Now, there is a Discord message in here as well. It has all the names blanked out, but basically is just mentioning what I've just talked about there, the Las Vegas Esports Arena threatening to pull Smash from their calendars going forward. The massive venue located at the Luxor Hotel and Casino, I've stayed there. It is amazing. I was meant to be going back in April to stay there again. That's obviously not happening now. But the Luxor Hotel is amazing. I would love to have been able to see this esports arena. It would have been amazing, but that's beside the point. Let's move back. The massive venue located at the Luxor Hotel and Casino reopened its doors this past June as the COVID-19 restrictions allowed for the arena to be functional again, as long as they can enforce safety regulations, which, according to their website, include a dedicated team to disinfect all retail areas of gaming stations and a mandatory 6 feet separation between stations, limited service offered by food and beverage stations, and more. I understand the businesses have to operate a function. However, we are in the middle of a harsh COVID cases around the country, and Nevada has spiked up significantly in the last couple of months. I think it's an extremely irresponsible decision, and it needs to be talked about, MVD stated in a follow-up tweet. According to the information from the New York Times, there were 15 new coronavirus deaths and 2,975 new cases in the state of Nevada on the 13th of December. The total number since the pandemic started rose to 189,000 cases and 2,500 deaths. Clark County, where Las Vegas is located, had an average of 1,900 COVID cases over the last 7 days as the virus continues to spread at an alarming degree once again. In the final tweet, MVD hopes that fans spread awareness of this situation as threatening the future of our Smash scene, especially after we've supported it in huge numbers prior to COVID, is a gross business tactic. Okay, so that is pretty much the end of that article. I'm going to roll back up and we're going to talk about the update. There has been an update to this. HyperX Arena has responded to MVD stating that they will not be permanently cancelling Smash tournaments, but instead they will be held once a month. Okay, so let's talk about the first instance of this, and then we'll roll through to the update. This is mental. This is mental. How can any esports, regardless of whether or not it's Smash, whether or not it's CSGO, whether or not it's Call of Duty, whatever esport is happening at the moment, how can they handicap and stop people from going to these events when it's not really possible, is it? Let's be honest. They're only just allowing people into football stadiums in the UK 8 months after the fact, 6 months after the fact. Is it 8 months? Is it March this year? Yeah, it's 8 months after the fact. They're only just allowing people into stadiums, and that is at if it's a 60,000 capacity stadium, they're allowing 3,000 people, and how can they expect people to want to come and play at these places? Like, use an example, Arcade Club down the road from us in Bury. That has been closed for what feels like the longest time, because why would you want to go to a place where you're all touching the same stuff constantly? Like, why would I want to go to an arcade cabinet when I know someone has just had their greasy hands all over it? Like, I'm having to quarantine now because I've been sat next to Graham for 1 day, and we didn't we didn't touch each other, We didn't breathe on each other, but it's for the greater good. It's for the safety of everybody else. Why would anyone want to go to a confined space and touch all the other shit that everybody else has been touching? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, just having a little bit of my coffee there. Let's change the scene so you get to see my lovely face. And there we go. I'm back. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Now, limiting the amount of moving into the update then, limiting the amount of attendees, limiting the amount of scheduled tournaments is probably the right thing to do. But having LAN parties as it stands probably isn't the right thing. We've seen a lot of esports tournaments moving into the online sector, like eFootball Pro last weekend. That was done remotely. It wasn't done in a studio like it usually is. We've seen many tournaments from CS:GO being done remotely. We've seen Call of Duty being done remotely. There's no need for tournaments like this to take part in a place like this, and especially in a place where America hasn't been great. I mean, this is one talking from a Brit. America hasn't been great with the way that they treated the COVID situation over there. So expecting people to want to come to a venue I mean, it's money first. It's a casino, for fuck's sake. Of course they'll want to keep money rolling through it, regardless of people's health and stuff like that. But it comes to a point where you're putting people's health at risk, that people don't go to your establishment, and you end up going into a lockdown again. You end up losing more money. Saying stuff like this isn't great, and it's going to piss off your community no end. There won't be a community going to this place again. They'll end up going to a cafe where they can host 50 people as and when it's safe. This isn't the way to go about it, and it's a casino at the end of the day. They want you to go in regardless of your health, because they need money to keep on generating through so that Vegas doesn't close down. Imagine if hotels ended up getting closed down in Vegas. Imagine the Bellagio, imagine the Luxor, and then the Rio all got closed down. Like, the amount of money that strip would then end up losing, it's not even worth talking about. Let's go through the chats. In Vegas, where hyper expensive is to visit, stay normally. HyperX is run by fucking idiots, says Iceman. Vegas is run by fucking idiots, you mean Ice? Robbo says, even if events aren't turning profit, it isn't a business decision to remove them from the calendar. I wouldn't call that a threat, but informing them. If my events are run at a loss for the venues, I would expect them to pull it as well. Madge says, why are they even considering an esports event with public attendees? Robo says, I understand that COVID has affected numbers, but at what point do we start asking businesses to run at a loss so others can make money? Very good point. Steel Bonsai says, it's crazy. Big Zombie says, you mean like supermarkets? I do that every day. I'm just waiting to get COVID. Exactly. I mean, if you are... remember back in March, right, when you went to the shop, it was a requirement to wear a mask and gloves. Now, again, to a degree, I am definitely part of the problem. I still wear my mask every single time I leave the house. However, I don't wear gloves anymore. That I am still part of the problem when it comes to that stuff. I don't see anybody in any shops wearing gloves when you go to a supermarket. And obviously, when it comes to stuff like this, Spike is on the front line because he works in retail. But a supermarket is a necessity. It needs to stay open. Whether or not it needs to be trading for 24 hours and every single store within a 17-mile radius has to be open, I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just abide by them because I'm a fucking idiot most of the time. This isn't a necessity. Having a place like this isn't a necessity. There's a lot of places that shouldn't be open because they are not a necessity, but they are a business, so they need to function. They need to be open because they're probably not getting the support that they require from the government to be able to stay open. It is a very, very difficult decision for a lot of people. I don't know. This is it. To some degree, I can get why they're going to be pulling it, but to never have them again, I don't know. Esports doesn't need to have venues open at this moment in time. It's absolutely not a necessity. This is in a casino. HyperX obviously have a contract with them somewhere down the line to say that they have their own facility in the back and they are not part of the casino, but you are in a casino. Like, a casino isn't a necessity. Like, we can't go to the cinema at the moment. So what makes us, in the UK anyway, we can't go to the cinema at the moment. But you can go to a casino in America. It doesn't seem right. It's weird. Necessity. I'm not one to be able to talk about this. I just find it baffling, really. But yeah, I don't know what they can do about it. Esports shouldn't be in venues at the moment. That's coming from someone who is an esports and community manager. It shouldn't be in any kind of indoor facility. yeah, I don't know what else I can say about that. It's sports aren't being played indoors. I can't play football on a Tuesday night because I will be playing against other people. The chances of me touching them is probably high-ish when I'm going in for a tackle, but I'm not going to be touching a joystick or buttons that somebody else had their greasy hands over for an extensive amount of time. I can't do that, but you can go to an esports tournament and play. It doesn't seem right. It's amazing, really, but yeah, it's just the way it is. It needs to be. These events should be played online anyway. HyperX, in that terms, they may have one of the best esports places around at the moment. However, they're clearly not adapting to the online environment that a lot of other places like Face It have kind of excelled at this at the moment. EGL have kind of excelled at this at the moment. They're still hosting tournaments all the time. But who am I to say? Who am I to say? They need to take this online and get more people playing it. Host weekly Smash tournaments over the internet. I mean, obviously these might be being played on the GameCube or N64 or whatever other console it is, and maybe not being played on the Nintendo Switch, where the online environment is obviously still thriving. But what can you do? Not keeping the place open is probably the first part. There was confirmed cases of COVID with a mother at the kid's school. She isolated for 2 weeks, but then was back in store. No mask with a daughter who also had it, touching everything. Still coughing. The issue is stupidity of some people. Agree. You can't really. Personal opinions and stuff like that, and personal habits. You can just call them a fucking idiot, but it's not going to change anything. Madge says the world is in a very well disguised worst ever recession. Things are far from over. Vegas as an entity right now has no purpose outside of a financial elite. Gary says, agreed, people are just fucking idiots. Robbo says, agreed, it's irresponsible to be running any events currently. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of esports events that are currently thriving because they've moved it all onto online, which is perfect for a lot of people because, one, they don't have to leave the house because gamers are usually hermits like myself. And two, why would you want to risk it? A lot of these people probably have families. Why would they go back and do that? I mean, schools are open now, which I don't agree with. There should be online classes, but that is my opinion. Probably get a lot of shit and a lot of flack for that kind of comment, but it's yeah, I do think more often than not it's usually kids that are spreading this stuff because kids are being kids. You can't tell them any different. The kids are being kids. They're knocking about with the friends in the playground. They're in classes, being in confined spaces with each other. It's absolutely not their fault, but they're being forced into a classroom with other people that potentially may have it. They're bringing it back home to their families, and then their families end up having to take 2 weeks off work or not going into the office. Like, we're at a luxury at this moment in time because I can work from home. But if I was to work on a building site, I wouldn't be getting paid for 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just a lot of the times it's just down to irresponsible shit. But hey ho, who am I to say anything? I did have 4 news articles today, but I've waffled on for so long that it's probably going to annoy. I'm annoying myself talking, if I'm being honest. That's why I'm grateful for every single one of you that have popped in today. We had over 30 people at one point just during this podcast, which is massive because our download numbers are usually a lot bigger than our live ones purely because of the time of day that we do this. So I appreciate every single one of you that have dropped by and either give me shit or just talk shot shit. Robo says, not entirely correct. Local service admins, partially in hardware and anti-cheating monitor. I've completely missed Dave's part. Esports is the only sports-like events that should never have been affected by COVID because you don't need an arena other than to get the attendance money. Robo is absolutely right. As someone who has obviously hosted multiple, either large-scale and small-scale tournaments over the last couple of years, getting staff to help out with this, whether or not it be someone doing the producing of the content, whether or not it's the admins that are available, it is still difficult. The servers is the biggest part of all this. If you don't have a server, you can't have a competition. That is the biggest part of it. And then having the people who are around to try and help the competition move smoothly. Have you ever tried to, if you have a group of 4 people, have you ever tried to look after over 100 people? It is extremely difficult, especially if they don't all speak the same language. That was one of the hardest things that I ever come up against. And I had to stand on a stage in London to try and tell over about 400 people in one room that we had a small technical error and that we'll be moving on in a different direction. That was very difficult, but we managed to get through it. But yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows moving stuff to online, but they would have had a better chance of surviving had they have done that sooner. I mean, if they want some proper advice, they can hire Jelly Media and we'll be able to give them advice on how to reach over 1 million people concurrently, and having over 30,000 people chatting at one time on multiple different sources. I mean, it's a whole thing. Just get in contact with us. We'll be able to sort something out. But yeah, that's the plug. That's the plug there done. We'll move on to the last article because I'm not going to read them all. The EA one can wait until tomorrow, I think, because this one is the one that's wetting the whistle of many different things. I'm just going to run through the comments. Personally, I left the house to meet some friends under the government guidelines and still caught COVID. If an establishment is actively encouraging mass socialization and threatening attendance, isn't just reckless. I agree, Tito. Don't leave the house if you don't need to. It's not worth it. I've made no secret that I play golf all the time. It is probably the most socially distant sport there is in the world because I am shit and my friends are good. So they hit fairways, I hit tree branches. So yeah, usually like two of us that'll go out, which is I think for the most part fine because I've got my own stuff. I've got my own club, my own balls. That's all you need really to play golf, and a slight bit of intelligence. But yeah, it's unless you absolutely have to, absolutely. Cyberpunk brought them here. Magic says Jelly Media for hire. Robbo just says I just cancelled my Christmas plans. Netherlands is now in lockdown until the 3rd week of January. Shit, is it? My God, as in like full lockdown, like no Christmas, which I don't understand. Like I seen comments yesterday, and it's something that I mentioned for a while. Like there's been so other holidays this year for different religions, but the only one that people have been focusing on is Christmas. From my perspective, I think that's kind of a disgrace. Regardless of the EDL saying you're in Great Britain, you do all the Christmas stuff. It's all bullshit. Everyone's had to suffer this year. I don't understand why Christmas was the only thing that people was aiming towards when we've missed like 4 or 5 other holidays for different religions this year, which is absolute bullshit. But yeah, it's a bit mental. I usually have to go swimming when I play golf. Yeah, exactly. You're only allowed like 3 people, but I'm not risking it. Why should? If you don't need to, mate, you don't need to. Moving swiftly on. Last news article of the day. I don't know if anyone's seen this, but I watched the trailer for the first time this morning, and my God, I think I might be able to show this, but not in full screen. But we'll do it anyway. If you are watching this, because we don't get a copyright strike for it, it just gets flagged as being blocked. But what I can do to make it unblocked, and this is like a little prequel now, if you find that there is about a minute missing of this and you're watching it on YouTube, then please go onto Twitch or listen to some of the audio stuff. The article will be in the description below and watch it for yourself because we can just remove that minute segment. But I want to show you guys that are watching this live. I want you to see this because this looks amazing. This is one of my favourite things in terms of survival horror games and the graphics of what a PS5 and the Xbox One can do. This looks amazing. So I'm going to show you this. If it gets blocked, then there's like a minute missing. Feel free to go over and find it elsewhere if you are watching this on YouTube. But let's just get into the news article. The Callisto Protocol is a new horror project from Dead Space creators. It's also sort of a PUBG game. One of the most exciting announcements of last week's Game Awards 2020 ceremony was the Callisto. I didn't watch the Game Awards, by the way, which is why I'm still catching up on stuff. A new survival horror game from the makers of Dead Space. The third-person game is being developed by Striking Distance, a studio headed up by industry veteran and Dead Space co-creator Glenn Schofield. Striking Distance is, of course, a studio established by PUBG publisher PubCorp in 2019 to work on games set in the PUBG universe. In fact, when Schofield announced the studio to the world, he confirmed that the team are already working on a narrative game set in that universe. So we rightly assumed to be some sort of shooter. But what Schofield didn't reveal at the time is its name or genre. We now know that the Callisto Protocol is a mysterious project set in the PUBG universe. One of the same, Schofield told IGN that the interviewer's upcoming horror game takes place 300 years into the future of the PUBG universe. The funny thing is, I came in with the story when I went in to meet the PUBG people for the first time and started talking about the Callisto Protocol and building a studio. I presented this game to them, and so what we did was made it fit within the PUBG storyline, Schofield explained. We spoke to the Chief Development Officer, Steve Papoutsis? Steve Papoutsis, as to why the studio went back to its roots with the survival horror. There's just a passion for it. Oh my God. I was doing so well today. And now I've managed to butcher it. Fuck's sake, Bibs. There's just a passion for horror games from me, Glenn, and some of the other wonderful team I've assembled, says Steve. Says Steve, we're not going to read his surname again. We are hoping to do something that was single-player driven, story focused, that provided a lot of opportunities for scares. We had some cool ideas for around the theme in terms of where it's going to take place, on a prison colony on Jupiter's dead moon, Callisto. Oh, okay, that makes sense now. There was literally a top of the line lift pitch. You can read the full interview over on IG. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so again, for those of you that haven't seen this, if you are watching this on YouTube, this bit will probably most likely be cut because it will say it's been blocked and we don't want the podcast to be blocked. However, I can remove it. Go into the description below and you can watch the trailer for yourself. But for you guys that potentially haven't seen this in the chat, that are watching this live, feel free to watch this with us because this looks amazing. This is like my favourite thing and Graham's favourite thing put together. What more can you ask for? And we did actually mention last week, I said if you could bring out a PUBG single player game with the gun mechanics and stuff, that would be amazing. This is hopefully what we're going to be seeing. So again, if you are watching this on YouTube, this will most likely be cut. It's only like a minute long-ish. It probably will be cut. So yeah, just skip forward and you'll be able to see it.
Hey man, get up. What the hell? You seeing this? Something ain't right.
This is Black Irons to transport ship K-1. You are cleared for landing.
Holy shit. Now, you don't tell me that that doesn't look like a badass game. Again, if you missed that and it's on YouTube and it's been cut, then feel free to go back and watch that. It's in the description below. Just head over there. You'll be able to watch it in full. But, my God, how good did that look? It looked insane, didn't it? There's one bit of this that I want to get back through again. If this isn't what next gen can do, and I want to see Goz all over the place. Oh, shit. Goz caption's on. Set it down a little bit. You probably, those of you that are in the chat probably know which bit I'm talking about. Nope, I've gone past it. This bit here. Let's get rid of that. Look at that. Can you replicate that on the current gen, on PS4 and older graphics cards? You can see like all the phlegm and shit starting to fall out of his gut. I mean, this is essentially what Graham looks like at this moment in time. But that, oh my God, yes please, yes please. This has the makings of an absolute world-class game. I cannot wait for it. I want to see more. I want to see more. I love Dead Space. Obviously, it's a single-player survival horror game. Why would I not like it? Dead Space 3 was a bit meh, but this has all the makings of an amazing game. I don't want to sound like I'm hyping this up too much because we've only seen that little trailer from it, which is obviously something that completely passed me by last week at the Game Awards. Obviously, I woke up the following morning and seen Asim and Gary both stayed up overnight to be able to try and watch stuff like this. But it looks amazing. I can't wait to see more from it. Quickly jumping back through the chat then before we head off. I bet Graham is bouncing around the room right now, COVID or not. Absolutely. Voice like your gargoyles, Fox, says Robbo. Asim says this is true. Interviewed Glenn Schofield once when he was working on COD. Huge. I also said, oh my God, it's the dollop. So, yeah. Glenn Schofield is a guy that would 100% kick your ass, bib. Oh, yeah, is he the rugby player guy? Yeah, he is fucking massive. That guy just benches about 7,000 bags of sugar a day. Spike says that's a bad case of gingivitis. No, that's me. Mike says looks good, but it's not Cyberpunk. Robbo says it's going to be so good. Robbo, you work at PUBG, don't you? If me and Graham do not get an early access code of this, you're never welcome here again. You are, mate. I'm only joking. It's like Alien meets The Thing, says Dave. Next gen phlegm, says Graham. Hopefully they bring the Dead Space vibe with the UI as well, clean, uncluttered, and immersive. That was the best thing about Dead Space, and essentially why I liked the older Resident Evil games as well, because there's nothing on the screen. There is no HUD. There is literally nothing. You just the only thing that you had in Dead Space was obviously the thing that was on your back that's showing your health. That was amazing. And when you fired your gun, I'm sure the bullets came up in the bottom corner. No, it came up above your gun, didn't it? It was above your gun. But apart from that, the UI, it was just, it didn't distract you from anything. You was literally, the immersion was in the game. And like you said, I hope they bring sort of that kind of thing to it as well. Looking at the back of the necks, exactly. I love the UI stuff. Clear UI as its place, but I love integrated UI, says Robbo. Yeah, that was a legit selling point for me. Well, now it's Crafton, but based at PUBG Studios. Crafton, holy crap, my brain is dying. Says Robbo. Okay, so this scoop has gone on so much longer than we usually like. If it's the dollop, that's been rightly named by you guys in the community. It usually goes on for about 40 minutes, but we've gone on for about an hour and a half nearly today. So I appreciate every single one of you that have dropped by and give your thoughts and impressions on all of the news stories that we covered today about Cyberpunk. Potentially losing faith with the community. The new Callisto Protocol game looks absolutely insane, and HyperX putting money before their fans and the community members. That's very top level stuff. Dig deeper. Should you have only just joined, feel free to go back and watch the entire thing. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to stream this for you today. Graham will be back at some point. You may end up getting my face again tomorrow, but it's Wednesday, so we will be playing games in the afternoon. Obviously, after the scoop, there will be no games after the scoop today because it's Tuesday, and it's the 1 day a week which I actually have to do some work. So yeah, there'll be no scoop today. We've got other things that need to be getting done. But we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.-ish. If you do want to be a part of the show, then there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can just join us in the chat live at 10 a.m.-ish. You can find us on social media, which is at We've Got With Bino, at Ice Cream Uploads, and of course at Graham_Day. If you are knocking around, then please feel free to go over and say hello to Graham over at his Twitter. I'm fairly certain he would be happy to speak to people being confined to his house and potentially killing the phlegm and his nose and his eyes and his chest and everything else. So I'm sure he'll appreciate some actual conversation. So go over and say hello to him. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.-ish. I know I'm butchering this last bit, but this is what Graham usually does, and I am going off the top of my head. But yes, again, this does get turned into a podcast, so you can find us over at Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, and also SoundCloud. Head over to YouTube. We will be leaving a comment in there. If you could respond back to that, like the video, subscribe to us if you haven't already. We'll be eternally grateful for that. We'll be back at 10 a.m. tomorrow-ish. We appreciate every single one of you that have stopped by. But until then, guys, there's only 2 words for you. No, it's not suck it, my friends. It is stay frosty. Take it easy. Bye-bye.